There is this story that comes from the Gospel of Luke, and I'm sure many of you in this class have heard it in some shape or form. And so there is this really wonderful story, which is also quite tragic and sad and sorrowful, which is called the prodigal son. It's about this father who's got two kids, and at some point one of the kids comes to him and says, "You know what? I have lost patience. I can't wait any longer until you die or pass away. Whatever is the share of my inheritance, just give it to me now so I can go have fun with life." Most of the stories that you'll find in the Synoptic Gospels, Matthew, Mark, and Luke, for me, they are incomplete. And so you have to kind of employ some imagination. You have to put your own life experiences, inject them into these stories to make sense of them. Because the book doesn't say that the father sat with his son and said, "Son, let me tell you how difficult it is to make money. Let me tell you how difficult it is to save money. Let me tell you the categories of pleasures for young people versus old people. Let me tell you what wisdom you gain from life as you age and as you become a witness to your own mistakes and errors in life, mistakes and errors in feelings, in emotions, in thinking, in assuming." The story doesn't tell us any of those things. He just says that the father looks at the son and says, "Okay, here's like $50,000. All of us in this class have parents, hopefully, and stretch your imaginations back when your parents were disappointed in some of the ways that you behaved. Maybe you said something, maybe you were going to do something with your life or drop out of school, and your mom, your dad, or maybe you took a boyfriend or a girlfriend home, or you just did something silly, and your parents sit you down and say, "Listen, the path you're taking is the wrong one, and I'll tell you why, because of A, B, C, D, E, F, G." Now, you know, it takes a long time for parents to see something and be hurt by the things that they see, especially the people they care for, i.e. their kids. And so they try over and over and over and over and over again to knock some sense into our thick skull. At a certain point, they just get tired. You know, like you sit with your boyfriend or girlfriend, try to tell them how things are. They just don't get it. At some point, you just walk away. You know, you just go for a long walk. You contemplate leaving the relationship, whatever the case may be. But parents don't have it really that easy. And we're talking about 2,000 years ago. There is no internet, there's no YouTube, there are no shorts. You live in a village of 200-300 people. Everybody looks the same, thinks the same, speaks the same. You can't go to your parents and say, "I don't like my sexual orientation, or I don't like my gender, or I don't like Judaism, and I want to be a Buddhist." Those things just don't exist. Life is very, very, very simple. You know, you don't have Costco's. There is no integration of races. Everybody's just a Jew or a Christian or a Buddhist or an atheist. That's how life was. And so at a certain point, the father just gives up. Ask yourself, why would a parent give up? They keep trying, they keep failing. There comes a point where they just are exhausted and they walk away. In the case of this story, the father simply hands over $50,000. I mean, what is it that exactly the father wants to do? He wants to give his son a lesson. He wants to teach him about the difficulties and complexities of life. But the father comes to realize how difficult it is to teach anyone, especially someone who's not ready to learn. And how do you learn? You learn by listening. You learn by hearing that which you listen to. You learn how to decode the messages that you hear. The son doesn't have any of those capacities. Why? He's young. To be young is to be born in sin. You're going to make a lot of assumptions. You're going to think you're right. I've had many students over the past 30 some odd years who come to me and say, "I want to drop out of school because school sucks." Sure, my perspective is always going to be limited. I don't have access to everything out there. I have the perspective of being an immigrant. I have the perspective of dropping out of high school to want to become a soccer pro or a tennis pro. I worked as a maid. I worked as a cashier at a Shell gas station, Del Paso Heights in Sacramento. I wasted a lot of my parents' money they sent from Iran to us so we can continue with our school, but they're young. And there comes a point, you realize that the student is just not there at a place to listen, to hear, to act upon what they've heard. So next time they knock on your door, you just won't open it. And you say, I'm really, really sorry. I have a meeting or I have something. So what you have is the imbalance of power and the inequality of just life itself. You have a father who is 80, 90, 100. You have a son who is like 18. By default, the father has experience. By default, the father knows what it means to be young and how it feels to begin to lose your abilities as you get older. The father has been to the place where the son is, but the son doesn't know what it means to be older. And when you're young, you are rich with dreams, not yet tested by life. When you're old, you have witnessed your dreams being crushed by life. The father gets punished by the infantile stage of his 18-year-old son and eventually gives up, gives him 50,000. What is it that young people want to do? They don't want to save money to buy a house, to buy a car, to go to school. Young people are not very future-oriented. Young people want to have fun. And young people, as Freud would have suggested, not in that particular language, they're driven by id, this part of us that seeks pleasure. Not the pleasure of becoming like a Malcolm X or a Bjorn Borg or a Karl Marx or Magnus Carlsen, a pleasure of dancing and smoking and watching Ariana Grande, or like me, going and watching, Wicked. So what is a young kid going to do with 50,000? What are you going to do with power when you don't have the education as to what to do with power? Well, you're going to abuse it. You're going to waste it. Imagine that God or biology or DNA has given you good looks. You're just attractive, stunningly so. At any party you go to, all these people hover around you like honey. All these people are like flies. But because you haven't examined beauty, you haven't examined life, you haven't examined its complexities, you bet anybody who comes your way. Be like Don Juan or Don Juanette. So the kid goes away and spends about $20,000 drinking and smoking. Lives in Oakland, by the way. Spends another 5, 10, 15, 20,000 having sex with random people. Men, women, animals. Doesn't matter. The 10, 15,000 on food. And it takes time for all this money to eventually go away. At a certain point, he goes to Barney's and orders this beautiful sandwich. And the guy says it's $35.98. He puts his hand in his pocket only to realize there is no cash left. He says, well, can I pay it to you tomorrow? He says, no, you got to pay it to me now. So he leaves the restaurant without any food. And now his belly starts to grow. He's hungry. He has no money. And so out of desperation, he just goes under a bridge, takes a nap, hoping that when he wakes up, there is some food by his side, but no such thing. Days go by and his situation becomes a bit more desperate. Pain. It makes you go back in time and look at your actions. And what are actions really? A set of feelings and thoughts that move the human body towards a purpose, whatever that purpose may be. Pain, and you begin to look at your life, you begin to witness all the nonsense in your life, then you become sad. In sadness, you begin to have regrets. With regret, remorse comes. You want to repent, you just don't know what to do, where to go. You begin to ask help from people, but nobody helps you. Then you are completely humiliated by life and by yourself. And that's the key, humiliation. And once you're humiliated, something enters you, and that's called humility. He says, you know what? Maybe I should go back home. I know my father hates my guts. I know I wasted all the good things that he's given me. I don't even know if he'll take me back, but I can't depend on people. I can't depend on friends. I can't depend on God. Maybe I should go back home. So remember some of the key elements here. Wisdom, which the father has, is not going to be received by his son who is young and lacks experience. Wisdom is caused by passage of time, sitting back, looking at your life, learning a few things from it, and then passing it on. Only to realize that the closest people to you will not really receive the gifts that you have within, and will eventually waste it. If you're young, it doesn't matter if you're sitting next to Jesus Christ, Malcolm X, or Socrates. You're just not going to get it, period. So old people are condemned by not being able to pass away their wisdom, and young people are condemned by their own ignorance. So both people are going to be stuck. Okay? There isn't much you can do. The father has no choice but to wait. Wisdom has no choice but to wait. And wait, and wait, and wait, until someone has been humiliated by life and by their own understanding. In humiliation, humility arrives. Then you start walking home. As the son does, he walks home. Now, this return can happen in all sorts of different ways. Maybe you don't like books. Maybe you've had this book sitting on your shelf gathering dust for the past 20 years. When you were young, you were interested, excited, inspired. You looked at a couple of paragraphs. You said, it's interesting, but life got in the way. Then you forgot all about it. You're no longer 18, but now 40. And you're walking back and forth in your house or room restlessly. And all of a sudden, your eyes begin to fall on the books. And all of a sudden, this book shows up. And it takes you all the way back to when you were 18. You take it off of the shelf, and all of a sudden, something strange happens. You're glued to the sentences, to the paragraphs, and you sit for the next 5-6 hours, you just read cover to cover. That's your return. I had a student some years ago, his name was Josiah. This is like 2004, I think. You should have seen him, even though most of you weren't even born then. I was teaching an ethics class, summertime, and he comes in with this t-shirt. Man, it's beautiful, young, tall, muscular African-American. I mean, he was like chiseled. It's like as if the gods had just made him, just dropped him from the heavens. Beautiful guy. And he came in as a guest. C.J. Anderson, who played for Broncos, brought him to the class, and then he kept showing up. At a certain point, he said, you know what? I don't like to be in America. I don't like being American. My father was from this part of West Africa. My mother was from this other part of West Africa. I want to go back. Even though I was born here, I want to go back and figure out who I am. And so he goes back. And then he comes to my class after 5-6 years, dressed completely different. He had changed his name. And the point I'm trying to make, the return can happen at any time in such mysterious ways. So up to this point, in regards to learning and teaching, no one can force teaching and no one can be forced into learning. Everybody is like this unripe fruit. The tree just have to be patient for a long, long time and keep nourishing this tiny little thing until it turns orange. And when it's ripe, it just falls from the branch. No one needs to pull it. This kid eventually walks back home. Now here's the thing about parenthood. Let me give you guys a little insight about what your parents are waiting for. All parents, without exception, are going to be disappointed in their kids. All of them. At a certain point, all kids will rebel against the nerdiness of their parents. All kids will eventually look at their parents and say, I want to be authentic. I want to be creative. I don't want a 9-to-5 job. I want to be an artist. I want to do this and I want to do that. All kids will eventually rebel. All kids are Democrats. All parents are Republicans, in the sense that you become conservative. My father is 92. He came over this past weekend. Right? So around 7:38, it's our custom to just drink tea the entire day. So I go and give him some tea. He says, Amir, I can't drink tea. Why? One tiny cup of tea equals 20 times of going to the bathroom. That's what happens when you get old. So it is true that when you were 20, you could drink tea, coffee, beer, like 50 gallons a day, and you would only use the bathroom like once a week. Now you drink a sip of tea, and that tiny little sip will force you to go to the bathroom 50 times. So as you get older, you have no choice but to be conservative. Your body moves slow, your diet changes, you've tasted some of the brutalities of life, much more fearful, much more cautious. So the father has been waiting patiently for his child to grow up, and eventually he has. The father does not expect an apology, doesn't even need an apology. The very fact that he sees the son coming home, that's apology in itself. That indicates understanding. That indicates humility. You know how difficult it is? Imagine, remember that guy who threw a temper tantrum like a 2-year-old? Do you know how difficult it is to come back to class and apologize to me and to you guys? All of us will justify our actions. I have no doubt, on his Facebook he says, I got this awful instructor. I'm not saying I'm any good, but regardless. So for this guy to walk back home, it's a huge deal. What is it that the father does? Hugs him. Doesn't need to know why he's back. Wisdom is always looking for people to return. And that's what the father wants. But the father knows that he can't force teaching, so he just gives his money away. Upon hugging his son, he comes to realize that he's really smelly. He hasn't showered for days. Takes him to the shower, washes him, gives him a brand new outfit, and tells his people, my son is back. Let's celebrate. They're having a good time. They've invited Eminem and Beyonce and the rest of the people. Even Ariana Grande, despite her busy schedule. And the son feels at home. For the first time, he knows what comfort looks like, feels like. For the first time, he understands the hardship his father went through, saving money, having wisdom, unable to give that wisdom away. But then the other son comes home and he's looking around saying, what's going on? Oh, your brother's back. My brother? The guy who wasted all of my father's money. Yeah. And this celebration is for that guy. Yeah. Now, this older brother gets really, really, really jealous and angry. And the only thing that the father does, can't really do much about that particular guy with those emotions. He just looks at him and says, it's not the time to fight. The brother who was lost has been found. Come celebrate with us. Now here's the thing. The older brother has always said yes to his father. Take out the trash, okay. Make some food, okay. Don't watch YouTube, okay. That's the wrong person to marry, okay. He's always said yes to his father. Despite having said yes to his father for his entire life, these poisons that live inside all of us, jealousy, envy, anger. The older son, despite saying yes, he still has those poisons inside him. He didn't go out. He didn't waste his father's money, but in thinking and feeling, he's like a child. The youngest kid who actually wasted has the capacity to learn. Is it better to sin or is it better not to sin? Do you learn by sinning or do you learn by not sinning? But here's the thing. If you make mistakes, but you never stop to examine them, observe them, process them, understand them, act on those understandings, those mistakes will eventually cause trauma. Trauma will keep you in your therapist's office for the next 50, 60 years. The trick is we have no choice but to make a lot of mistakes. That's just given by default. The point is, will there ever come a time, and no one knows how this happens, why it happens, to whom it happens, who has the capacity at a certain point to be humiliated by life, to be forced into looking, witnessing, having regrets, having pain, having sadness, sorrow, and sitting back and saying, okay, let me look at this whole thing. You know, women are really, really, really good at this. At least they used to be. I don't know how they are now. When they go through a divorce or when they've been in a long-term relationship, and after 4 or 5 years, they realize that this guy is no good for them. The guy leaves and this woman just sits in the ruins of her life. And she wants to know why all of this happened. And she goes into this psychological cave of hers. And she begins to go back in time and, connect the dots together. For some people, for some women, it takes 6 months. Sometimes 6 years, 7 years, but they come out, they resurrect from the ash of life, much better. Men, on the other hand, they're all like Hugh Hefners. Men just don't learn. So for those of you in this class who wish to learn something, first, someone needs to have some interest in you. Then they need to create some chaos in your life. And in creating chaos, you'll either stay or you will leave. You stay only because you like the person who's created chaos. And you leave because you don't like them enough. If you like the person enough, that like will hopefully eventually will turn into love. And in love, you're able to endure abuse, which is a necessary factor in learning. If you're not abused, you can't learn. Why is it that abuse is necessary? All of us have assumptions about ourselves, about life, about God, about this, about that. Those assumptions have to be tested. And when they are tested, you'll come to realize about 99.9% of them are just bad. Your definition of love, it's just bad. Education, it's just bad. Pleasure, it's just bad. Beauty, it's just bad. But if I was to tell it to you that it's bad, your position about things, you'd probably drop the class. If on the other hand, you loved someone and that person told you it's bad, then, so that's the problem with teaching and learning.